Uh, it is the struggle for multi-party democracy which introduced us to a country. I have not been in a place like Mandera. I went there in 1992 to campaign for Jaramogi in those days. And I remember when we landed there, instructions were given that we should not sleep in any hotel in Mandera. There was a small hotel there called Red Sea Hotel where we had been booked. But immediately we got in, the manager came out, the hotel was empty. But he came out and told us, I'm sorry, the hotel is full. But we had already been booked. So we moved on to the Mandera County Hostel, which was owned by the county council. The manager was very, very happy to receive us. And we were taken to our rooms. But immediately after that, we had a woman screaming at the front office. And we came to know her husband had been arrested. And she had been told, so long as we were in the hotel, her husband would remain in prison. So she had come to plead with the manager to flush us out of the hotel so that her husband can be released. So eventually we were also pushed out of this hotel. But there was another Muzee, I think was called Ibrahim, who took us to his compound, and it was ward. He bought mattresses for us, and for 4 days we slept under a tree, under a mango tree, in Mandera. You know that we intended to stay for so many days. The aeroplane which we had chartered to take us to Mandera, when it came back to Nairobi, they were told not to go back. So we were stranded there. Yes. So I don't want to bore you with more of these stories. Finally, the struggle succeeded. We got multi-party democracy, but the structures of Kanu were still in place. We were just a democracy on paper. The dictatorship, the chiefs, and whatever continued. So, and although we had been elected to parliament, I remember I myself was caned by an AP in Nyeri as a member of parliament to Ichapo, Biboko. So, I think, the struggle continued for another 10 years or so. Then we tried the elections. Of course, there was sham. We couldn't win. Then we tried to bring the opposition together because Moi was winning with only 30% of the votes. And then we couldn't agree. And when Jaramogi passed on in 1994, then 1997, we thought Moi had become so unpopular that anybody can defeat him. So that's how Raila, Wamalwa, Ngilu, and the others, all of them stood because we were thinking Moi would be number 4 or number 5. But again, he beat us. And then we started now reorganizing ourselves again. And fortunately, this time, Ngiro Wamalwa and Kibaki agreed to support Kibaki for presidency, Wamalwa for vice. And then Raila had gone into Kanu. He's the one who kicked Kamolo, the Secretary General, out of Kanu. And, of course, he is accused of being compromised, etc., etc. But I met somebody called Sir David Steele. We were the election monitors in South Africa when Thabo Mbeki was coming in. So we spent a lot of time with Sir David Steele because he was the leader of our team. and he was a friend of the Raila family for a long, long time. So I asked Reverend Steele, please tell me the truth. How come Raila went to work with Moi? And he told me they had done their own analysis, and they are the ones who advised him to work with Moi and try to weaken Kanu from within. Because now, the way we were, we couldn't win. So, and Raila went there, and for sure he shook them, because kicking Kamodo out of and becoming the Secretary General of Kanu was not a simple thing. Then Moi handed over to Huru. So it was a bonus for us, because this brought Raila brought back with him Karonso, Saitoti, and many other people. And so it was very easy for us now to win in 2002. Unfortunately, we fought again among ourselves now. After 2002, the composition of the cabinet, there was a quarrel between, there was a secret MOU, how they had divided seats among themselves, which was not honored. And this is what caused the problems. Many of us didn't know about that secret memorandum. So, and this is what led us to lose the referendum for 2005 for the new constitution, and also caused the post-election violence of 2007, 2008. But now, after the negotiations, Raila came in as Prime Minister. We were ministers with him, and we worked very well with Raila. I was the Minister for Energy. Raila was very passionate about energy, because he had Minister for Energy during Moi's time. We traveled with him, and he encouraged me a lot. Raila was an engineer. He understood energy better than me. So he's the one who told me in Europe, those people don't have hydro and the other power which they are talking about. They use nuclear energy. And the best way for us is for us to go for nuclear energy in the country. They say France is even exporting nuclear energy to Spain. So why can't we have nuclear energy and export? Yeah, so we started the nuclear energy project. He took me to Korea. We negotiated for it. We went to France, and we appointed Ochiro Ayako to be the head of this project, because then he was the previous minister. And I think the project is still running, but it has not materialized fully, because by now we should have nuclear energy in the country. Then he came up with an idea of kerosene-free Kenya. He said it was very easy. Instead of using mafuta ya taa, why don't we get solar panels? So during the day, you put the panel outside the house, and then it gets power. You can charge your phones. There was even a cooking demonstration in Murungi. Women making a very with the solar. Yeah. So, in addition to pioneering democracy, I think Raila was also the pioneer of green energy, in this country. He was a very forward-looking person. Then, 2010 Constitution. Actually, Raila was the driver of the 2010 Constitution. And now that we are working together on both PNU and ODM, it was easy. So he appointed Anyang' Nyong'o and Janet Yongera into the referendum secretariat. And then I worked with Anyang' Nyong'o from the PNU side and Professor Kawanja. And so we are the ones who were in charge of that campaign. We drove it. Raila started, but he got unwell. I think we were campaigning for the constitution in Nairobi, in Damu Estate. But after he got unwell, we continued the campaign with Kibaki. And because the two contestants were now working together, it was easy to deliver the 2010 constitution. Unfortunately, the church and the current president who were against it at that particular time. but we won. The Constitution has opened space. It brought in new ideas about devolution, inclusivity. Actually, it's the most progressive constitution we have in Africa today, because we are even looking at the South African constitution, and they decided, to move a bit higher than the South African constitution. Now, because I don't want to talk forever, let me deal with an aspect about Raila, the enigma. Raila has been in every government. He tried the elections very many times, many disputed, but Raila always emerged with a lot of popularity, even after the elections. And there is no government which could rule in Kenya without support of Raila. So he had to support. Moi could not rule without Raila. Kibaki could not rule without Raila. Uhuru could not rule without Raila. And even Ruto cannot rule without Raila. There are very many people who have gone out, especially among you in social media, saying Raila is a traitor, he has betrayed the people, he has perpetuated status quo. I want to tell you, whenever Raila was, his mission was one. Just like he had gone to dismantle Kanu. He got into every regime with an idea of moving the reform forward. He never abandoned, in whatever situation he found himself. Even now, with Ruto, he has a 10-point agenda, isn't it? Is that not a progressive agenda? So, if, for me, say anything else, but we shall always remember Raila for his patriotism, his fight for freedom, for constitutional electoral reform, and inclusivity. Now, as I sit down, we at the Center for Multi-Party Democracy are worried about the trajectory of our democracy. We seem to have made 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards. We know people are angry. The elections themselves have actually become a threat to democracy, not only in Kenya, but in Africa. And you can see the youth have given up. They are united. Their chemistry and the regimes are wide apart. That's why they are declaring themselves partyless, leaderless, and triballess, everything less. We have been trying to follow that trajectory. And sometimes very good intentions can also take us backwards. We have seen, for example, the Gen Z revolution in Madagascar. Very progressive in what they are talking, but because of that leaderlessness, because of partylessness, they create a governance vacuum, which is occupied by the military and other conservative forces. So, although we are fighting for multi-party democracy, we feel this could also be a threat, because we can take the country back to where it came from in 1980s and all that. So as you are debating, my friends, please let us engage with the young people and let us see, whereas their demands are legitimate, can we find a way of sustaining, those demands? One way that we can continue with Raila's dream is to make sure that this country will never go back to dictatorship or military dictatorship through any form. I think for me, That is the message I could have. And I think if Raila was alive, he would fight, he will continue fighting to protect and promote the gains of democracy in this country. Long live Raila.
Long live.
Thank you very much. I would like to request you